first things first, because almost everyone gets this wrong. His name is spelled D-A-O-U, and it is pronounced Daou, rhymes with how. He has said so himself, in public, more than once. Peter Daou. Now, Peter Daou produced a #1 dance record, ran Hillary Clinton's internet operation, built a pro-Clinton media machine, turned on the party that made him, took over a third-party presidential campaign aimed at that party, and then quit that campaign after 6 weeks. Every one of those is true. This file is about what the record actually says, and about one thing the research dossier was handed leaves out entirely. Before anything else, the most serious thing said about Peter Daou online is that he took part in the Sabra and Shatila massacre in Lebanon in 1982. It is false. He has said he was conscripted and given militia training as a teenager during the Civil War, the New Republic, in a long profile that is in no sense a defense of him, established that he was not deployed, did not fight, and that there was no evidence connecting him to that massacre. I am putting that first, not in a footnote, because a file that catalogs a man's real weaknesses has no business leaving an invented one in circulation. What is fair to say is narrower and still unflattering, and I will come back to it. Here's the arc. 1992, he records under the name The Daou, same spelling as his surname, with his then-wife Vanessa, and Surrender Yourself goes to #1 on Billboard's dance club chart. 2004, online communications advisor on the Kerry campaign. 2008, director for internet on Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. That is C-SPAN's own record of the title. 2015, chief executive of Blue Nation Review, which becomes Shareblue. 2019, he breaks with all of it. 2023, campaign manager for Cornel West. Read down that list, and the question is not, what does he believe? It is, how does a person move that far, that fast, in public? Shareblue was not a newspaper that happened to like Hillary Clinton. It was built as pro-Clinton political media, and Daou ran it. The BBC reported the model in 2016, a for-profit media company, emotionally salient content, shareable headlines, networked amplification, hashtag mobilization. Daou spoke openly about developing hashtags internally that then read as organic, and about using activated supporters to put pressure on media outlets. It was owned by David Brock, who ran several other pro-Clinton operations at the same time. Daou denied coordinating with the Democratic Party, and that denial is on the record. Here is the fair reading, and it cuts both ways. This is genuine literacy in how internet politics works. It is also exactly why everything he produces gets read as advocacy, even when it is accurate. And then, by 2019, he had moved completely. He backed Bernie Sanders. He attacked Democratic elites as compromised by corporate money and militarism, and he apologized for his own conduct towards Sanders supporters, the exact people Shareblue had spent a cycle fighting. Now, there are two readings of that, and I want to be honest that I cannot settle between them. One, it was a genuine reassessment. He gave reasons: inequality, foreign policy, institutional failure, and he apologized in public rather than repositioning quietly, which is a costly thing to do. Two, it was opportunism, the speed and the totality of the switch, one absolute political identity swapped for another. There is no evidence that resolves motive, and anyone telling you they know what was in his head is selling you something. What can be said without speculating is this: the reversal created a permanent credibility problem. Anyone assessing him now has to reconcile two bodies of confident public statement that contradict each other, and his own archive is the opposition research. In 2017, he launched Verrit, a platform issuing sourced, numbered, shareable factual statements aimed at Clinton supporters arguing online. It went wrong immediately. Technical problems at launch. The numbered statement concept was mocked relentlessly. Clinton promoted it herself, which multiplied both the attention and the ridicule. It shut down in 2018. Here's what Verrit does and does not prove. It is not evidence of deception, and it is not evidence of general incompetence. That reading is too broad. It is evidence of something narrower and more useful. A communications strategist who can mobilize a committed base can still badly misread how a product will land with the press, with neutrals, and with people who are actively looking to laugh at it. Which brings us to the thing that matters most, and the thing he will still be argued about for years after everything else on this list is forgotten. It is one interview given in September 2023 while he was running a presidential campaign, and it is the single hardest position of his to defend. not because of what he said about January 6th, but because of what he put next to it. In September 2023, running Cornel West's campaign, Daou gave The New Yorker an interview. He said January 6th was wrong and a threat to democracy. He also argued that the Democratic Party's primary practices, its ballot access challenges, and what he called vote shaming were comparably grave threats to democratic representation. Now, half of that is ordinary Democratic argument. Ballot access in this country genuinely is restrictive. Party primaries are not straightforwardly democratic instruments. Those are arguable positions, argued by people with no connection to him. The problem is the comparison itself. It is very hard to sustain the claim that unfair primary rules are comparable in kind to an organized, violent attempt to stop Congress certifying a presidential election. One is institutional unfairness inside a lawful system. The other is an effort to overturn a result by force, and flattening that distinction does not strengthen the first argument. It discredits it. Note carefully he did not defend January 6th. Anyone telling you he did is misreporting him. He built a comparison that cost him the argument he actually wanted to win. And here's what the research dossier I was commissioned from leaves out. It records that Daou became Cornel West's campaign manager in 2023, and it treats that as his standing position. He resigned 6 weeks later, appointed on the 10th of September, gone by the 26th of October. He cited extreme stress from running 2 presidential campaigns in a single cycle, and personal trauma in the aftermath of the 7th of October attack and the war in Gaza. West announced the departure citing health. That is not bookkeeping. The dossier's sharpest criticism, the false equivalence, is an assessment of a role he had already walked away from for reasons that have nothing to do with the argument. Leave the resignation out and you get a portrait of a man permanently mid-fight. The record says he stopped. The full file is at peterdaou.gothamweekly.com. The reversal, the reinventions, the equivalence, and 5 things the dossier missed. Every adverse fact carries the outlet that reported it. Opinions about motive are labeled as opinions because motive is not knowable from the outside, and the Sabra and Shatila insinuation is stated as false on the front page rather than left in circulation. If this was useful, subscribe to the channel and hit like. It's how these get made.